When I was growing up, being a Democrat usually meant being a liberal, and being a liberal definitely meant defending free speech, even extreme free speech, as the ACLU did in 1978 with the neo-Nazis in Skokie, Illinois. Well, something's changed over the last decade. I pinpointed it at the election of Donald Trump in 2016, where Democrats today increasingly and openly and blatantly and without any conscience about the First Amendment and the Bill of Rights and the Constitution advocate for censorship of speech. They are no longer free speech, but don't take my word for it. Let's revisit times past and times present as it relates to Democrats and how they talk about the issue. This is Barack Obama when he was still president.
As president of our country and commander-in-chief of our military, I accept that people are going to call me awful things every day, and I will always defend their right to do so.
Here's Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris these days.
We will hold social media platforms accountable for the hate infiltrating their platforms because they have a responsibility to help fight against this threat to our democracy.
Here's Barack Obama in 2013.
The freedom to think what we want and say what we think, to choose our leaders and, yes, criticize them without punishment.
Here's Kamala Harris in 2019.
There has to be a responsibility that is placed on these social media sites to understand their power. They are directly speaking to millions and millions of people without any level of oversight or regulation, and that has to stop.
Remember this Obama?
And I will always defend their right to do so.
Well, here's Barack Obama from 2022.
Social media companies already make choices about what is or is not allowed on their platforms and how that content appears, both explicitly through content moderation and implicitly through algorithms.
Here's Kamala Harris saying similar things to what you just heard.
I know you wrote to Twitter and the CEO, Jack Dorsey, and asked him to take away the president's Twitter handle, his account. How is that not a violation of free speech? I mean, the president has the same rights that you have, that I have, and how would that not just be a slippery slope where they have to ban, half of the people on Twitter?
I've heard that argument, but here's the thing, Jake. First of all, a corporation, which is what Twitter is, it does not have it has obligations, and in this case, Twitter has terms of use policy. And their terms of use dictate who receives the privilege of speaking on that platform and who does not. And Donald Trump has clearly violated the terms of use, and there should be a consequence for that.
Let's keep going further. This is Hillary Clinton in 2010.
And censorship should not be in any way accepted by any company from anywhere. And in America, American companies need to make a principled stand. This needs to be part of our national brand.
And this was Hillary Clinton this week.
But I also think there are Americans who are engaged in this kind of propaganda. And whether they should be civilly or even in some cases criminally charged is something that would be a better deterrence. Because
to be a liberal Democrat for most of my life has meant defending free speech, even awful speech, even extreme speech, even untrue speech. It's all protected by the First Amendment. Now being a Democrat means rejecting liberalism and embracing the regulation and manipulation and censorship of free speech. Democrats have completely changed, but don't take my word for it.
Freedom of information is a fundamental human right and the touchstone of all the freedoms.
And I will always defend their right to do so.
And censorship should not be in any way accepted by any company from anywhere.
Whether they should be civilly or even in some cases criminally charged.
And will put the Department of Justice of the United States back in the business of justice.
And censorship should not be in any way accepted by any company from anywhere.
And direct law enforcement to counter this extremism. We will hold social media platforms accountable.
And in America, American companies need to make a principled stand.
For the hate infiltrating their platforms because they have a responsibility to help fight against this threat to our democracy.
Criminally charged.